want to disabuse folks of a notion. And the notion is things like being kind, being polite, being charitable, and so forth are, quote, free. I want to make it so that people stop thinking of those things in that way. So what I want to do, though, is ask a question that, to me, sort of replaces that bogus idea. It's not always bogus, but it's often bogus idea that people have. And the question is, but is it worth it? And that's what I want to discuss today on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today it is Saturday today, the 23rd of April of 2022. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That would be the Kurt's Religion and Politics page on Facebook, on Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com, on Minds, MINDS.com, Kurt's Religion and Politics group there primarily, on Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, or wherever else you happen to be finding me today. Again, the subject that I'm going to discuss is going to be, but is it worth it? And that's a question, and I'm going to go ahead and go through my notes to give you some idea where I landed when I started to look at this idea. I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody saying this or that behavior is free. I won't try to make the argument such things always, quote, cost, end of quote. That said, if they never do, what's the real value of them? That's a serious question. I want you to think about that for a minute. If you're honestly willing to live a life in which you basically never sacrifice any of your time, effort, or other substance for others, exactly what kind of person are you? I'm not trying to tell you give it all away, though I would argue that in a sense that's exactly what Jesus told a rich man who asked him how to be, quote, perfect, end of quote. I don't remember the exact question, but that's basically what it was summed up to in my mind. What I want to do is redirect a bit. I'm not going to tell you things like being nice or polite to others are always free, but I'm going to ask a question. And the question is, when they're not, you have to ask this, but is it worth it? The reality is, being nice, polite, helpful, and when possible, willing to give in various ways is almost always valuable in some sense. On the most selfish level, it makes it so there's a sort of culture of such a viewpoint. That means when it's time for you to be in need, and you can trust that in some way that's bound to happen, you can believe it's possible others will be there for you. I remember years ago, more than 40 now, years ago, I gave to some cause, and I can't tell you how good it felt to do so. Thinking back, I can't even tell you what the thing I gave to was. I've since learned you should be careful where you, quote, invest your resource, end of quote, since many places who are vying for it are not good places or people. That said, I think I would rather give to unworthy people or organizations periodically than to not give at all. Even so, my substance is limited, so I try very hard to support folks who show themselves worthy, and that doesn't mean people who don't need it, but people I see who will use what I offer for things that are actually helpful to themselves or others. What I'm trying to get across today is that it is worth it to help others when you're able. It is worth it to help others when you're able, even if it costs you to do it. In fact, I would argue that that's the time in a way that it's most helpful, that it's most worth it. So maybe it's not free to do for others, to talk to others, to be kind and polite to others, but asking yourself one simple question: is it worth it? I hope you'll come to understand, if you can do helpful things, not hurt folks when you're aiming to do good for them, the answer is a resounding yes. That's the caveat, though. If you do things that either don't actually help or, worse yet, harm those in need, or for whom you're trying to brighten their day or whatever, you can rest assured at that point it's not worth it. Make sure what you're offering is actually going to be to the benefit of others. If it's not, you may as well not offer it at all. Example, as a rule, you not only shouldn't offer drugs to an addict, you shouldn't offer money either. Food is a different matter, as is, if you can do it, something like shelter or support of other kinds. So forget it's free, because if it's good, it often isn't. Instead, ask the question, but is it worth it? Here's one of those mic drops. It's really easy for me to just say that I would stop here, but I'm not going to, because I want to really get those minds working and get people thinking about some ideas. Politeness, kindness, goodness, helpfulness, charity, oftentimes are hard, are costly. And I'm not arguing that you should necessarily hurt yourself in the process of helping others. I'm not arguing that you shouldn't either, by the way. That seems like an odd thing to say, but sometimes that charitable activity on your part will lead to things that you would never have imagined, and so you can literally, quote, hurt yourself in a given situation, a current situation, only to have the future end up brighter as a result of the fact that you did that. But stepping away from the selfish for a moment, stepping into the realm of just this is a good or a right thing to do, I really have to tell you that helping others is worth it. If it doesn't do anything else, it brings up the society around you, and it gives people in need a picture of others who actually care about them, and it also shows them that even when their lives are not perfect, they can do similar things for other people, and this is one of those a rising tide raises all ships moments, right? You do something for somebody, and again, there's that concept to pay it forward. I'm not super fond of that expression, not because of the idea behind it, but because people use the expression to be trendy, and I'm not a trendy individual. I don't work like that. But the point I'm making here is this. When I don't want you to pay it forward, I want you to start doing the thing that needs to be done. I don't want you to wait until somebody else does it for you and then pay it forward. I want you to be the first one in the line. And, here we go again. I want to be very clear on something. I'm not saying I'm great at this. I'm not. Again, this is as much for me as it is for anybody else. What I tell people when I do my little podcast is as much for me as it is for anybody else, because I'm here to tell you I am not good at a lot of the things that I'm trying to tell you. I used to say to people something, there's this idea that you're a hypocrite because you told your kid not to take drugs and you were a drug abuser when you were younger. That you may call that hypocrisy if you want to, but you need to understand this. If somebody's been through something and they know it's not good, it's okay for them to tell other people that it's not good. Okay? What I'm trying to do with my podcast is I'm trying to be that person who does good things for other people. That's part of what I'm trying to do. Some of that may not look like it when you look at it, but it is. It still is. I'm not going to live a life where I don't try to do good things for other people. I won't. I will. I'll actually do this, but not because I want to show myself off, but because I want to give other people simple ideas of things that you can do. My son, I buy him a couple sandwiches often at a place that I buy him breakfast, and he only eats one of them a lot of the time. Today he ate most of two of them, and I finished the second one off. But lots of times he'll only eat one. Why do I buy him two? Well, because sometimes I know he wants that. But there's something else that I do, and it is when that second sandwich doesn't get eaten, I leave it wrapped up in the wrapper that they put it in and leave it on a table where somebody else could pick it up if they want to. And when I have the opportunity, I try to tell people, hey, this is here. If you want it, it's here. It's simple. And by the way, it's cheap for me. but it still costs me a little bit to do that. That's okay. I'm not saying that I'm always looking to spend a lot of money to help people, but if you don't ever do anything that costs you anything, what have you done for others? That really is the question that I want you to think about. Okay, I'm coming to the point where I need to wrap things up. This has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Saturday, the 23rd of April of 2022. That means tomorrow will be Sunday the 24th. Today being, by the way, Saturday being the end of the Sabbath at sunset today, according to most folks I know who observe the Sabbath. Tomorrow again will be Sunday the 24th of April of 2022, which will be that beginning of the Christian week, according to most Christian folk that I know. Welcome to, and thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That's the Kurt's Religion and Politics page on Facebook, on Locals. That's Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com, on Minds, MINDS.com, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, primarily there, on Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, or wherever else you happen to be either hearing or seeing me today. Subject for today has been, but is it worth it? And I want to say that this is what you should ask yourself. Is it free? Don't so much worry about that. The question is it worth it? Free or not, by the way. Free or not. Tomorrow's subject is going to be cherry picking. It has to do, I started out with the idea that there are a lot of people out there who are really, whether they realize it or not, sort of rules for thee and not for me sort of folks. I don't know if you've heard that expression before. It's been used a lot recently, and I think that there's a lot to its use. But there's this idea that people are cherry picking when it comes to what they want to see enforced and what they don't in the law, and I want to talk about that tomorrow in the Daily Summation. So that's what I'm going to do there. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you and continues to do so. And hopefully we will see you again on Sunday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was created on Saturday the 23rd of April of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching today's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back tomorrow to check out the next one. Remember, on various platforms, primarily Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub, and the audio podcast, you can subscribe to my content. For the audio podcast, you probably want to use Apple, Google, or Spotify. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. In order to find me on those platforms, you can go to the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub. You can also get to my content on Facebook by finding the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there. Minds, MINDS.com, where you will find me at the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, and Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com as well. You can look there. I post my daily video on various social media sites, really only about 3, Parler, Gab, and Twitter at present. I am at KP Schubert on each of them, and you can find me under them, and you can find the videos under me. You should be able to find my podcasts on Google and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's also on podcasts.kpschubert.com. That's podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. If you're looking for me on various of the podcast sites, you probably want to search Kurt's Religion and Politics, not the Daily Summation. Keep in mind you can subscribe to my content on various places that I put it. All constructive feedback is welcome. You can like, dislike, add a rumble, or give whatever feedback is available on any of the platforms that you can do such things. You can also add a comment on what I put there. Unless you're advertising or doing something that I believe will harm others, I'll leave your comments out there even if I don't agree with or understand them. I will try to let you know I've seen them when possible and may reply if I feel it's reasonable, appropriate, and possible, of course. Thanks again for viewing this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back again for tomorrow's as well.